The message of desperation. The sky over the planet Drea was no longer blue. Smoke from burning cities turned the air black. Ash rained down like snow. The once beautiful capital had fallen to silence except for the roars of the invaders and the cries of those who had survived. General Rith stood in the ruins of the council hall. His armor was scratched, his face pale, and his spirit crushed. Drea's forces had been strong, or so they thought. But the enemy called the Grawl was stronger, brutal, endless, no mercy. No escape. We've lost the northern wall. A soldier reported, barely able to stand. Rith looked at the broken statue of their planet's founder. Then we are truly finished, he whispered. But one voice still had hope. Ambassador Lyra, a young diplomat with wide eyes and trembling hands. She wasn't soldier, but she had courage. We send a message, she said, to the humans. The generals turned to her. Some laughed. Some looked shocked. One growled. They are monsters. They were banned from council meetings for reason. They are monsters, she agreed. But we need monsters now. The room went silent. Everyone remembered Earth history. Humanity had arrived in the galactic scene a century ago. They were smart, strong, fast to learn, but too violent, too dangerous. Their soldiers fought like beasts. Their machines made other races tremble. The council had asked Earth to stand down, so Earth went silent. For years, no one heard from them. No one dared to reach out until now. Send. The call, Rith said at last. We have no choice. With shaking hands, Lyra activated the long-range signal. She spoke simply directly. To Earth, Drea begs for mercy. We ask for aid. We ask for your strength. Please, help us. The message was sent. For 2 days, nothing happened. The skies grew darker. The Grawl took city after city. Civilians were rounded up, enslaved, or worse. Hope faded. Then a sound filled the sky. A low hum. Growing louder, the clouds parted not naturally, but by force. From above, a ship descended. Not smooth or beautiful like Dreyan crafts. This one looked like a beast made of metal. Sharp edges, scarred hull, massive engines that growled like thunder. Its surface bore no symbols. No colors, just black. The crowd that had gathered to watch gasped as the ship touched down. The ground shook. The air felt heavy dot from its dark belly. A ramp opened, and they walked out. They didn't wear shiny uniforms. They wore armor that looked used, burnt, pierced. Some pieces had alien teeth embedded in them. Their weapons looked heavy, too large for Dreyan hands, too deadly for peaceful minds. There were only 10 of them, but the way they moved, the way they stood, it was like 10,000. One of them, the tallest, stepped forward. His eyes scanned the crowd, cold, unfeeling. Who sent the message? He asked. Lyra stepped forward. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. I did, on behalf of our people. The human stared at her, then said, Ben, stay behind the line. From this moment on, the monsters fight your war. Behind him, the others loaded weapons. A few cracked their necks. One lit a cigar. Another whispered, been too long since the last hunt. And then, without waiting for orders, they walked toward the Grawl front. No fear. No hesitation. Just monsters. Answering a cry for mercy. Asterisk. Unleashed fury. The battlefield outside Drea's capital was a wasteland. Craters, broken walls, scorched trees. Nothing remained untouched by war. The Grawl forces moved like a wave, black and endless, with twisted armor and weapons made to torture, not kill. At the edge of the ruined highway. The 10 humans stood. They were still, silent. One of them, short, wide, and covered in mechanical gear, slammed a heavy device into the ground. It hissed, then beeped. What's that? Asked a young Dreyan scout watching from cover. A marker, Lyra said. A line. A line for what? To show where mercy ends. The humans began their walk forward. No ships followed them. No drones. No tanks. Just the 10 of them, walking straight into the enemy army. The Grawl saw them. Laughed. Roared. Charged. The humans didn't run. Didn't flinch. The first wave of Gruul warriors, over 100 strong, rushed in. Blades up, claws swinging. Teeth bared. Then the sky lit up. The smallest human raised his arms. Twin barrels mounted on his shoulders opened fire. Blue light cut through the air, slicing Gruul in half. One by one, bodies fell, burning, breaking, collapsing before they even reached the line. Another human lifted a massive hammer that crackled with energy. He jumped into the horde like a meteor, the ground exploding beneath his landing. Each swing shattered bodies. Each step left a crater. Lyra watched in awe. They don't fight like us, she whispered. No, Rith said. They fight like death itself. The humans moved with brutal efficiency. No wasted motion, no hesitation, each one a weapon of destruction. Bullets cut down beasts. Blades sliced through metal and flesh. One Gruul tried to bite a human's arm only to find the armor biting back. Spikes erupted from the suit, tearing the creature apart. A human laughed. Missed this. By the second hour, the Gruul had stopped laughing. By the third, they began to retreat, but the humans didn't stop. They hunted. They chased. One Gruul warlord tried to rally a squad, screaming commands in a guttural tongue. He never finished his sentence. A steel spear flew through the air and pinned him to a wall. Another human walked past the body. Talk less. From the capital, Drayan soldiers and civilians watched. It wasn't just a battle. It was a message. A warning. This is what happens when Earth sends its monsters. That night, fires burned across the horizon, but not from Gruul weapons. These were human strikes, precise, devastating. At sunrise, the capital gates opened. And the 10 humans walked. Back in, bloodied, burned, but alive. They carried no trophies. No prisoners. Just silence. The tall one approached Lyra again. They'll return, he said simply. And next time, they'll bring more. Then will you stay? She asked. He looked past her at the frightened children, the broken buildings, the scorched flag. Yes, he said, until it ends. Lyra let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Behind her, the crowd began to cheer. Not with joy, but with hope. Real hope. The kind born from fire and fury. Earth had heard their call, and it answered. Not with words, but with monsters that made the stars tremble. Asterisk. The warning the humans had stayed. Not as leaders, not as rulers, but as watchers. The Drayan people quickly learned to fear and respect them. The Ken did not smile. They did not laugh with children or eat at the public tables. They trained, repaired weapons, studied maps, and waited. Ler visited them often, carrying questions, updates, and sometimes food. They rarely spoke back, but they listened. The tall one, called Gray by his squad, was the only one who answered in full sentences. We don't make friends. He told her one morning. We make silence? Silence? She asked. He tapped a map showing dozens of enemy positions. When monsters like the Gruul take a planet, we bring silence. No cries, no fire, just peace through destruction. Lyra didn't know if she should be grateful or afraid, but time passed, and the Gruul returned. This time they sent ships. 20 of them, black, sharp, heavy with weapons. Drea had nothing left to stop them. Their defense systems were ruined. Their fleet destroyed. Their only hope stood on a cliff just outside the capital. 10 humans watching the sky. Gray stood still, scanning the horizon with cold eyes. They brought a commander, he said. One of the Gruul kings. How do you know? Asked Rith, who had come to witness the defense. Gray didn't answer. Instead, he pointed to the pattern of the enemy ships. Only kings fly in diamond formation. It's a sign of pride. A younger human, thin, fast, covered in strange glowing wires, grinned. Means we're allowed to break the king, right? Gray nodded once. The Drayan soldiers nearby whispered among themselves. They couldn't believe it. 10 humans against 20 warships. Still, the humans moved calmly. They split into pairs. One climbed a hill and unfolded a long, thin weapon that glowed green. Another opened a case filled with bombs that looked homemade but hummed with dangerous power. Evacuate the outer rings. Gray told Lyra, and keep your people away from the sky. But what about you? She asked Dot. He strapped on a jetpack, and simply said, we rise. The attack came fast. Growl ships broke through the clouds, energy beams already charging. They roared like falling meteors. But before the beams touched the ground, a blast hit one of the lead ships from below. It spun wildly and crashed into the forest dock from the cliff. The humans launched upward, small packs on their backs, massive weapons in hand. They flew like missiles. Lyra watched, breathless, as one of them latched onto a warship's hull, cut through it with glowing claws, and entered the ship from the side. A second later, explosions ripped through the inside. Another human rode the falling ship down like it was nothing, jumping off before impact. Within minutes, the battlefield turned into a deadly dance. Ships exploded midair. Black smoke streaked across the sunrise. Humans moved with terrifying speed, striking one ship, then flying to the next. On the ground, Drayan soldiers began to cheer. Hope returned, until a sound broke the sky. A much larger Grawl ship emerged, twice the size of the others, covered in jagged spikes. Its hull glowed red. From its center, it fired a massive pulse cannon. The shot hit the cliff where Gray stood. The explosion shook the ground. Rocks tumbled. Dust filled the air. Lyra screamed, Gray. No answer. The Grawl King's voice echoed from loudspeakers on the massive ship. It growled in twisted words. This is your end, little ones. Your monsters are broken. The sky grew quiet. Then something moved in the dust. A figure stepped through fire. Doubt it was Gray. Asterisk. Armor cracked, blood on his face, but his eyes burned with fury. He held something in his hand, something he had pulled from the wreck. The weapon pulsed with white energy. A forbidden human tech. He looked up at the Grawl King's ship, aimed, and whispered, Earth does not forgive. He pulled the trigger. The beam tore through the sky like lightning. It pierced the ship from nose to core. For a moment, everything stopped. Then the king's ship split in half. It fell in silence. As the pieces burned in the sky. Gray turned to Lyra. Tell your people this, he said. Mercy is for the innocent. Monsters protect them. And then he walked back into the smoke. Asterisk. The truth beneath the armor. The capital was still standing. Barely. Fires had been put out. Streets cleared. Grawl bodies stacked in heaps, far from the city walls. But the fear, it still lived in the hearts of Drea's people. They had survived, yes, but only because of the 10. Gray and his team were not celebrated. There was no parade, no feast. In fact, many avoided them. Some whispered they were too dangerous. Some even said Earth had sent them not to help, but to remind the galaxy of what humanity could do. Oli didn't believe that. She went to the human camp, just beyond the city limits. Tents made of strange materials, machines that hummed low and steady, weapons stacked beside cooking units. It was organized, chaos efficient, clean, deadly. She found Gray sitting by a fire alone, sharpening a blade made of black alloy. Why don't you rest? She asked gently. He looked at her, but didn't smile. Rest is for after the war. You saved thousands, she said. You could at least let them thank you. Gray stopped sharpening. They fear us, he said. It's better that way. Lyra sat beside him, quiet for a moment. Then she asked, Is it true that Earth was banished? Gray nodded. The Council feared what we could do. We built weapons too fast, solved problems too quickly. We weren't slow like the others. We adapted, and they punished you for it. They warned us to stop evolving. We didn't. He put down the blade. They thought pushing us away would make the galaxy safer. All it did was let the Grawl rise while they looked the other way. Lyra looked into the fire. And now you've returned, not with peace, but power. Gray turned toward her. His eyes were hard but tired. You called for mercy. Earth sent its monsters because mercy had failed. A breeze passed through the camp. Somewhere behind them, one of the other humans laughed deep, short, sharp. Another one tested a flamethrower, causing a Drayan scout to flinch. They say you're not even human anymore, Lyra said. We're human, Gray replied. We just carry the part that others buried. Before she could reply, alarm sounded. In the distance, not enemy ships this time, a transmission. The command tent buzzed with noise. Screens lit up with static, then cleared to show the face of an alien diplomat pale. Old and dressed in shimmering white robes, it was a council member. Gray and his team gathered silently. Lyra followed, heart pounding. The message was simple. Earth's forces have interfered in a protected zone. You are ordered to stand down and leave Drayan space. Immediate withdrawal is demanded. The Drayan officials in the room looked nervous. Some nodded, ready to obey. Others stayed silent. Gray didn't blink. He walked up to the screen, leaned in, and spoke one word. No. The council diplomat frowned. You defy direct orders? We answer only to Earth, Gray replied. You abandoned Drea. We didn't. This is not your fight. Then why did they call us? The screen went dark. For a moment, there was only silence. Then one of the Drayan commanders stepped forward. They'll come now, he said. Not just the Grawl. The council. Everyone. Lyra looked at Gray. Will you leave us? Gray didn't answer immediately. He turned and looked at his team, some nodding, others already suiting up. No, he said finally. We stay. But if they all come, then we show them what monsters can really do. He stepped outside, the orange sky casting long shadows behind him. The world was changing, and Earth's monsters were no longer hiding in the dark. Asterisk. Monsters don't kneel a day past. Then two. The council never sent another message. They sent ships. Instead, a massive fleet entered Drayan space without warning sleek. Silver vessels marked with the emblem of the Galactic Council. Each one carried advanced weaponry, thousands of soldiers and diplomats prepared to restore peace. Drea's leaders gathered in the capital tower. Fear hung in the air like smoke. They will not fight the Grawl, Rith said grimly. They've come to remove the humans. Some agreed. Others protested, but all turned to Lyra. They saved. U.S., she said. We asked for mercy. Earth gave us survival. And now you want to tell them to leave? An older senator shook his head. The council is the law. If we defy them, we've already defied them, she interrupted. By calling Earth. Below, the streets were quiet. The citizens of Drea knew something was coming. They stayed indoors, watching skies filled with council warships. A single order could bring destruction. At the edge of the city, the 10 humans stood again. Gray waited. With his team in a line, their armor wasn't polished. Their weapons weren't raised. But their presence alone was enough to make nearby Drayan soldiers tremble. The lead council ship landed at midday. Its ramp opened slowly. Out came tall, slim diplomats in ceremonial white robes, followed by gold-armored guards with energy spears. And silent helmets. The council envoy spoke without emotion. You are violating council protocols by engaging in unauthorized combat in a protected region. Your deployment is illegal. You will leave Drayan space immediately. Gray said nothing. The envoy stepped closer. Do you understand? You have no place here. Behind him, Lyra arrived. They saved us when no one else came. The council does not answer to emotion, the envoy said. Only order. Gray finally spoke. Order? You call this order? The Grawl burned this world while you watched from your high tower. The envoy's face twisted. You're nothing but killers. Earth always has been. A quiet spread across the field. Then Gray took off his helmet. Everyone saw his face for the first time. Not a monster. Not a beast. A man. A tired, scarred, weathered human being. We are killers, he said softly. But only when we have. To be, he pointed toward the sky, where Grawl debris still floated. That was your order, he continued. Look what it brought. The council envoy stepped back. This is your last warning. Disband your team and surrender your weapons? The 10 humans didn't move. Instead, the smallest of them, with mechanical arms and a scar across his neck, stepped forward and placed a strange device on the ground. It beeped once. A hologram flared up, a recording. The message played for all to hear. It was Lyra's voice. The first call for mercy. Drea begs for aid. We ask for your strength. Please help us. The hologram faded. Gray looked at the envoy. That's why we came. That voice. That plea. We didn't come for conquest. We came because someone asked for help. And Earth answers those calls. Always. The envoy looked shaken. If you do not kneel, you will be removed by force. Gray's answer was calm. Monsters don't kneel. A council guard raised his weapon, then froze. All 10 humans had moved in unison. Fast. Silent. Their weapons drawn, not aimed. Just ready. It was a warning. A silent one. The envoy took a long breath, then turned. We will report this. We expect you will, Gray said. The council left, not in peace, but in defeat. That night, Drea lit torches in honor of the humans. Not out of celebration, but in respect. They had stood against the Gruul, against the council, and they were still standing. Asterisk. The enemy behind the curtain days passed. Then weeks. The council didn't return, but the Gruul did. This time, they weren't just angry, they were organized. Entire fleets dropped out of warp above Drea, not wild chargers or scattered forces, but precise formations, clean patterns, tactics they had never used before. Gray stood atop the defense wall, eyes narrow. Someone's helping them. Rith joined him, helping the Gruul. Gray nodded. The Gruul were animals before. Now they fight like trained soldiers. That doesn't happen by accident. Lyra arrived moments later, holding a tablet with intercepted transmissions. He's right. The council isn't just ignoring the Gruul anymore. They're guiding them. Rith stiffened. Why would they do that? Because we didn't kneel, Gray answered. The humans moved quickly. They upgraded Drea's weak weapons, reinforced bunkers, taught soldiers how to fight, not just stand in rows. They didn't use complicated words or noble speeches. They trained killers, and Drea learned fast. Gray's team began calling the Drean fighters by code names, teaching them to move like predators, not prey. One Drean commander joked that they were becoming monsters too. Gray replied, "Good, that means you'll live." The final attack came without warning. Multiple warp gates opened at once, far above the atmosphere. Gruul ships swarmed out, hundreds of them. Behind the fleet floated a strange command ship, unlike any Gruul vessel. Lyra saw it first on the radar. That's not theirs, she whispered. Gray confirmed it. That's council design. They had expected Gruul teeth and brute force. What came was worse. Council technology given to monsters. Their battle began in space. Drea's limited fighters engaged the Gruul ships with help from autocannons installed by Earth's team. Explosions lit the sky like stars. Then the second wave dropped. Gruul soldiers armed with advanced council weapons. They landed hard, tearing through the outer zones. Gray's team split into pairs. 2 humans held the eastern gate with only a few Drean troops. Another pair moved into the burning forest where Gruul were trying to flank the city. Gray and Lyra led the center. She had refused to stay behind this time. I'm not just a voice. She told him, I want to stand where it counts. Gray didn't argue. They fought together, blaster in her hands, blade in his. She missed shots. He didn't, but she kept moving, kept standing. That was enough. Above them, the council-backed Gruul command ship hovered lower. A deep voice echoed across the city, amplified by sonic waves. This world belongs to the council now. Earth will be erased. Drea will burn for its defiance. Lara shouted through a cum device. You once spoke of mercy. This is your answer? The voice returned cold. Mercy is weakness. We are correcting our mistake. Gray turned to his team. Time to send a message. They launched everything. Missiles, pulse beams, EMP strikes. Then When the shield around the command ship flickered, Gray gave the order. Board it. 3 humans soared into the sky using jump jets, dodging lasers midair. They tore into the hull like fire through paper. Screams echoed. Explosions followed. The ship lost control, falling slowly in a burning spiral. Lyra watched from the ground. Heart pounding. The ship struck the distant hills and a mushroom cloud. Rose. No cheering this time. Just quiet. Gray's voice returned on the com. Target neutralized. She almost cried hearing his voice. The Council had sent monsters to control the growl, but Earth had sent monsters to end them. As fires settled and skies cleared, the Drayan people stepped out from bunkers, homes, ruins. They didn't look at Earth's soldiers with fear anymore. They looked with pride. The monsters had protected them. And now, for the first time, the galaxy would learn you don't threaten the innocent while Earth still listens the price of mercy. World was quiet again. Smoke still rose from shattered hills. Broken ships lay scattered across the land, some still burning, others already being torn apart for parts. The capital stood, but only just. It had survived 3 invasions in one cycle, but this time it wasn't trembling. It was rebuilding. Gray stood at the top of the hill where the Grawl command ship had crashed. His armor was scarred, his arm in a sling, but he was alive. Beside him stood Lyra, her face pale with exhaustion, yet stronger than ever. The final battle had broken the enemy. The Grawl were leaderless, confused, and scattered. Without the Council's hand guiding them, they were just beasts again. Earth's monsters had done more than fight. They had changed the tide. Down below. Drayan workers and soldiers carried tools and supplies. They moved with new discipline now. Longer fearful, but trained. Strong. Ready. The 10 humans had taught them well. They'll come again. Lyra said, looking out over the horizon. Not the Grawl, the others, the Council. Gray nodded. They always do. And when they come, they'll say we've broken some law. That we stood with monsters. Gray turned toward her. Then stand tall. Behind them, the rest of the human team gathered. Fewer than before 2 had died in the last assault. Their names weren't spoken. They didn't need monuments. Their lives had been the warning got suddenly. A signal came through. A message broadcast on every frequency in Drayan space. It was Earth. Deep voice spoke clearly. This is Earth Command. We recognized Drea's struggle and bravery. You called for mercy. You received defense. Now you stand free. Know this. To the innocent, Earth offers protection. To the wicked, Earth offers silence. The message ended. No demands. No conditions. Just a statement. Gray looked at Lyra. You're on your own now. She shook her head. We're not alone. Not anymore. The humans began packing up. Their mission was done. No medals, no speeches. Just movement. One by one, the team boarded their black ship. Its engines hummed like thunder, echoing across the valley. The same ship that had brought monsters now carried ghosts of war away. Lyra stood with the Drayan people watching them leave. Some waved, others saluted. No one cheered. It wasn't that kind of goodbye. As the ship rose into the clouds. Lyra whispered, "Thank you." And in the sky, above Drea, the stars blinked quietly. The monsters had returned to the dark, but now the galaxy knew, when mercy fails, Earth doesn't. Asterisk.